Yeah. Come on. Welcome.
Look ahead lines. Late night money. Here we go. We have our Super Bowl matchup. What are you gonna do? It's party time. Eagles and Chiefs getting it done on Sunday. And when everybody did, listen, you know what we're gonna roll in with right off the bat. First, wherever you're watching, if you're on Facebook, Twitter, watching, Mr. Sean Haig on Twitter, come say hello. Put the banner up. Everything's in the chat here. The Believe links to all the podcasts, your podcast channels, the 7 Day Steals up there. I'll get down on that. Anyway. So where do we start? Nice winning day. So I had, those you watch Look Headlines last week, you would already been on Eagles money line and Cincy plus 1.5. Pair of winners. We'll take it. Had the under 2 in 1 day. Wish it could have been a 3-0 day. It happens. Still, monster NFL season. Unbelievable. And I'll have a winner later on. But let's go over some of these props we had. Nice winners on the props, right? We had, oh my goodness. So I'm looking at the Cincy game. Nice one. T. Higgins winner. Scantlin with a TD. Kelsey. So we end up winning like $2 there. And then we hit all of our wide receiver props on the Cincy side. Lost them on the KC side. The Boston Scott score Philly and Philly to win plus $8 plus his in-game touchdown anytime, $5.50. Nice. Hurts TD, Sanders TD. We had some nice wins there. I don't know. Some bit of props hit. I'm just running through a couple of them, but let's get, Eagles 149.5 is the line going forward. But I want to hit on these ridiculous. If you saw on Twitter, I think I pinned it. The old no bad beat refunds, and I got to tell you, I got a couple people are like, oh, you should have them. You've lost too much. Like, listen, do we got to start on these freaking bad beat refund crap? How about do we get a refund on Mar if there's going to be an OT in this game? Should have been an OT. We got a bad penalty. Where's the refund? Purdy refunds. Get out of here with that crap, bro. Listen, don't bet. Don't bet. Stop it. Stop it. NFL rigged, trending all over. Rigged. It's fixed. It's scripted. Let me ask you this. You think it's rigged and fixed. Why the hell are you betting on it? And then coming and complaining about it. And then asking for a refund when somebody gets hurt. Don't bet, losers. It's just that simple. You're going to come in here and think you do a refund on a bet? No. Play with your Pokemon Go cards. Ask mom to bring you some pizza rolls. Let the men do what we do. We win, we lose, we get on to the next day. It's a freaking bad beat crap. I told my wife, she's like, what are you doing over there? I was like, oh, just playing on Twitter where people want refunds on their bets. They're like, they bet. You could lose. Like, thank you. My wife doesn't bet games. She understands. Markel, welcome on in. Miz, love the Purdy under props. Yeah. Oh, are they voided? Do you get voided on that when they refund everybody else? You get the void? Ridiculous. Easy winner, Purdy unders. Chiefs money line. Never in doubt. Never in doubt. The same Burrowhead. Here we go. I saw that from Stu Presidente called the Burrowhead. I had Cincy in it Saturday. As soon as I saw that their clown mayor said that we're going to have paternity tests, it was a loser. It was Kansas City by 1,000,000 points. It was never going to be a doubt after that moron opens his mouth. And my wife's like, well, why do you say that? I'm like, because when some clown opens his mouth, here comes the kibosh. The gambler got thrown on that. That's just putting the jinx out there. That's like the old thank me in the mornings, Jason, right? Chiefs by double digits or whoever the refs got. You can have questionable calls. The end of the game call, was it questionable? It's just a bad penalty. It was a bad penalty because the guy ripped him out of bounds. It was ridiculous. But Rigged. Eagles, he's going to crush KC. Yeah, MX here. My wife was like, well, who do you think's going to win? I'm like, it depends on this guy. Mahomes is giving his interview. If he's good to go, if he plays like today, Kansas City's got a shot. But the Philly defense, the front four, is going to be all over this cat. And normally I'm going to fire right away. I don't know what I'm firing on this game. I do not know. Look who we got, a special guest coming in. Oh, my goodness. He's backstage. I thrown him right out, right under the bus. He came in. I don't know what's going to happen. What do you think's going to happen, Greg? What are your opinion here? Come on in. I got to pull you in. You can get in here. I know you're disappointed as a Cincy fan. It's a tough loss.
I mean, I would have just liked to see that guy not hit the guy out of bounds. And then
yes, because you're going to get overtime.
I mean, they had that one possession where they stopped him on third down. They said they called the play dead. Then the next play they call a little ticky-tack hold.
At least you saw the ref running in from the sides. Yeah. You saw
but I'm like, it just seemed like every call, even if it was right, wrong, or indifferent, went against the Bengals. I thought
but that's home field. Again, this game should have been on a neutral anyway. This should have been a neutral site game.
The Bengals beat them head-to-head, like this year. If that had been in Cincy, I think Cincinnati probably wins. I thought the intentional grounding, I thought was bullshit, but the Bengals still got out of that and went down. Yeah. I mean, their real problem was they should not have called a timeout there.
Yeah.
They should have went up to the line, ran it tight, because then it would have been like 30 seconds. You'd have had 2 timeouts. If you don't get the first down, you basically, you go to overtime. And with the new overtime rules,
you got a shot.
I think they probably would have won because, like, the Bengals had the healthier team. I mean, banged up Mahomes. And, I mean, it was Mahomes, that last run, was Herculean. His ankle was probably bothering him. The question will be in this matchup, how will that ankle? Because the Bengals have a nice defense, but they don't have like a superstar.
They don't have the Philly defense.
They have they just all play good together. The Eagles have some superstar pass rushers.
Yeah, they're awesome.
If he can't run, that's going to be a problem.
It will be a problem. But on the flip side of that, the Eagle offense, are you really okay? They put up 30 points today. Are you impressed with their first score was a drop pass or an incomplete. You got a fumble on the 10 or whatever the heck. I mean, this offense has not looked good.
Yeah,
with him under center going back to week 18.
Since he's been hurt. I mean, he's still not healthy. The 2 weeks will be I'm glad the NFL has done this. I've heard that if they add an extra game, they might take away that week because they don't want to extend the season much longer. I hope they don't, because I like this extra week, because then you're going to get as many players healthy, or at least the healthiest they've been probably since the beginning of the year. So I like this. I like this. We'll see. Jalen Hurts' shoulder will be a lot healthier. He didn't have to run the ball a lot today. And Patrick Mahomes' ankle, I think, will be a lot better. Now, I still don't think he's going to be like vintage Mahomes, be able to just scramble around, but I think he'll be able to move around a little better.
And you also got to look for KC if their receiving core got a little banged up today too. Again, you got 2 weeks.
It didn't look like any of those guys were.
And no matter what, everybody, you're still going to be banged up even with a 2-week break. It is what it is.
But I think they won't be down to 3 receivers like they were at the end there.
No, I mean, this
they couldn't run the ball. That was the thing. The Bengals that run game was just not able to run the ball.
They had a couple in the fourth, and you thought maybe, all right, here we go. They got to warm them down. Burrow had a big run. The mix came for like 6 or 7 yards right after. I think, okay, they're going to kind of mix it up a little bit here. I just was watching part of the game, and I said to my son, I said, how the heck is every time I looked up, it was like a screen pass or like some kind of short. What are you doing?
I mean, the Bengals' offensive line, if their offensive line was healthy, this would have not been close.
Well, why wouldn't you have, instead of throwing to a running back, why wouldn't you just run a bubble screen to T or Chase out of that kind of thing?
Well, I think with Boyd went out in the first half, that really hurt. Because, they basically just double-teamed T. Higgins and Chase the whole game and said.
But how can you put Hurst across the middle? That guy's pretty good.
They did a little bit there late, but he was helping the chip because your offensive line had 3 offensive linemen down. Yeah. I mean, it's not unheard of to have offensive linemen down, but at this point, I mean, they were basically healthy until the last couple of weeks, and then to have 3 guys go down in the last 3 games, just absolutely.
They caught up with them,
Yeah, and let's be honest. I don't think the Bengals could have beat either one of the NFC teams because the pass rush of both of those other teams. I thought the 49ers
they would
were the
have
Eagles.
mauled them. They would.
Yeah, unless the Bengals, Collins wouldn't come back, his ACL. But I think one or two of those other guys might have been able to come back. So maybe you get a little better. But Williams had a dislocated kneecap. I don't think he was coming back. That was an ankle. So, but I mean, it was a great year in Cincinnati. I mean, we what 10 or 11 in a row after starting 0-2, and after the 0-2 started, they were 32-1 to win the Super Bowl. So to get to and at one point they were favored to beat the Chiefs at the Chiefs. It tells you. I wish the Cincinnati mayor maybe wouldn't have said Burrowhead. That was probably
that whole thing. I was like, that changed my opinion this morning in the chat. I was like, you know what? Take Kansas City by 10. Like, just do alternate lines. Kansas. Like, you can't say that. You can't say that.
Dumb. Like the Bengals didn't say it. That's the worst. The Bengals didn't say shit.
That's all right. That's true.
People like the mayor and he's like, dude, just shut up.
Doesn't make a difference. That's up on a bulletin board. Here you go.
But I mean,
the team's pissed off to see something like that. Get the heck out of here. Especially
Bengals,
a team that's got you 3 times already.
They got as a Bengals fan, we got to get some depth on offensive line because if a guy goes down, you got to be able to we still want games, but I mean you got to be able to win the big one. This was and the key was the Bengals lost to the Steelers because of a missed field goal early.
Yep.
The game got canceled against the Bills. If they win those 2 games, they also lost a last second field goal in game 2 to a backup quarterback at Dallas. I mean, if they win 2 of those 3 games. This is at home. They win the game. I mean, it's important. Home field is important. Now that we've seen the NFL, how fast they sold those tickets in Atlanta for what would have been the Bills and the Chiefs, how many years before the NFL says, let's just play the AFC and NFC championship at neutral site games too?
Ridiculous. So why?
It'll be, think about the money. Like, the town will sell all those hotel rooms.
What about the team who's played home in front of the fans and their fans got to suffer now?
Well, you'll still have home field, because they're going to add another team. They're not going to have just one bye team. They're going to add another playoff team because no one will have a bye. So you'll still have to play at home 2 games.
Why? So we put another garbage team in there that gets run out of the building?
I don't think there would have been garbage teams. Like if the Packers got in, they would have been the last seed. There's not any team out there that would have wanted to play the Packers. Aaron Rodgers. Or it might have been the Lions, actually.
The Lions.
It was close.
Lions would have been in, I thought.
They were close. But either one of those teams, the Lions can score 40 on anybody. That would have been. Now, usually you're probably right. Like in the AFC, the 6th team would have been what? Tennessee? Or the 8th team or whatever. The 8th team would have been Tennessee. Backup quarterback.
The Jets were right there. I mean, come on.
Could have been the Jets and Patriots. But you want Bill Belichick? If you're the number 1 seed, you got to face Bill Belichick.
I would care. That's that offense. I mean, their offense coordinator was last year's defensive coordinator. How good is that team?
No. Well, now it's not. Bill O'Brien. You're not going to win it all. You might as well suck. That's the worst thing the Patriots did. They were decent. Like if you're in the middle, that's the worst. It's like the NBA. You either want to be great or bad. If you're in the middle, you're not drafting high, and you're NFL may be a little different because there's, obviously a lot more players. You got to fill a lot more roster spots. But in the NBA, that's like, be bad or good. That's why the trade deadline, the NBA teams just like.
Speaking NBA, we'll talk a little about bad beat refunds. I know they'll have to pull that in the NBA. Guy plays for 3 minutes. The Purdy. Where's the Purdy refund started coming up?
That was
how I rant all the time on this.
Man, what do you think that game really would have happened? I
think Philly was going to win. I thought Philly was going to win. I thought it'd be low scoring. I 23-13, 26-13. I don't think the Eagles offense is that good. Hurts is still not 100%. San Fran defense. You saw the San Fran defense. Eagles didn't do anything against that defense, really. Not much.
Yeah, I mean, they were on the field the whole game, so it was very tough.
I mean.
I don't understand. If you knew, why wouldn't you have an emergency quarterback?
I mean, you think your backup's going to get hurt too? I mean, we got 3 quarterbacks.
I mean, you're in the playoffs. You can start whoever you want.
If that's the case, if he got hurt and then the backup comes in, your backup goes down, does it make a difference? You have a 3rd stringer at that point? It's really not. Who are you pulling in?
Yeah, I don't know.
Tell me the 3rd stringers come in. I mean,
I don't know.
We've seen miracles, backup guys, right? I mean, like Jeff Hostetler come in.
Young
Foles,
was like,
Frank Reich.
I'm on site and I'm available. Young said, like he tweeted out. It was like because he was there for I think the NFL Network or whoever.
I mean, come on.
He was.
What?
That was rough. But I think it would have been close. I mean, I was like, I'm taking the Eagles -2.5 when I got up, but I was still like,
where was the respect for the Eagles all season? Zero respect. I know Niners defense is good, but we've seen Shanahan choke games before. We've seen him choke Super Bowls. Why wouldn't he do something stupid here with a rookie
this
quarterback
is the best
against a
coaching
good
job
defense?
ever, though. If you look at who they lost this year and when they lost him, to be, minus 2.5 on the road at Eagles, that basically, if Jalen Hurts doesn't go down, probably would have ended up with only 2 or 3 losses. So, I mean, it's pretty saying what Shanahan did this year. I mean,
well, the defense.
Now, what are you going to do if you're Shanahan? Who you keeping a quarterback? Because obviously you got 3 that played. I mean, you have a guy you drafted.
Garoppolo's gone. I thought he's going to go to the Jets. Now the Jets got the Green Bay offense coordinator. Maybe what's his name? If the Jets are going for somebody, I'm not getting Rodgers. I'll go for Garoppolo. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they go for Rodgers. Think they can win it. I don't. Garoppolo's leaving. If I'm Garoppolo, I'm not staying here. I'm leaving. You tried to trade me in August. I'm not staying here. Even if he could have played, I wouldn't have played in that game.
The problem is, where's he going? Houston. You start going to bad teams.
He might have that Houston.
Great team.
That's where their coach is going. He's taking the Texan job. Why not go there?
That's what I'm saying. But if you're going to play for bad teams, he's been on the Patriots and the 49ers when they've been basically in the playoffs every year.
You're bringing in a new coach. He wants you in there.
He's
familiar. The coach is familiar with. He's going to probably take some San Fran guys with him.
I wouldn't want to go to Houston. I wouldn't want to go to the Jets.
I disagree. I think Houston could. I think that division. I know people are high on the Jaguars. You got a good coach. I
originally thought he was going to Seattle because I thought he'd want to stick it to that organization. But now, since they brought him back, it sounds like he's not sour. So I don't think. And I think Geno Smith's getting an extension.
Yeah. Well, how can you get rid of the guy? The guy took you to the playoffs.
Right. I mean, he career numbers, broke all-time record. He broke Russell Wilson's record.
Yes.
Passing yards. So, and they're going to get better now that they got all those draft picks for Russell Wilson. They're going to be able to get a little better offensive line. Yep. They're going to get healthy because all their running backs were banged up. And then they're going to get help on defense again. And, we know what they can do when they have good defense.
I'm not sold on the Rams in that division.
Trey Lance is going to be the one that probably gets traded.
Yeah. Why would it trade?
I don't know. I mean, he's at an all-time low value. So, you're not giving him much. So you're basically, maybe you bring him back because then you're like, hey, maybe he kind of reinvents himself. But I think Purdy's going to start next year.
How can you not start the guy? I mean, they can say whatever they want. It's a competition. Lance in the preseason looked terrible. He looked horrible in the game he played. I mean, this guy came in and put up 30 points a game.
Yeah. You would want it's like people just keep saying the Bears should trade
Fields?
Justin Fields. And I'm like, and take whichever quarterback they like, number one. And I'm like, Justin Fields couldn't throw the ball this year. Who's taking him? He's a great running back, but he's playing quarterback. You're not getting a first-round draft pick for Justin Fields, nor would you for Trey Lance. So it's you almost have to bring him back and hope that he gets better, and then he has some trade value.
What are your thoughts on the Super Bowl here? You think Eagles won? So I don't know.
I just my VIP guys were messaging me and because they wanted to get in before the line moves. I'm like, I don't think the line's going to move. I'd say it's going to be one way or the other. So to me, that's pick 'em. I just don't see a whole lot of unless some really sharp money comes in quickly. I think it's going to be Eagles because they looked obviously more impressive against the 49ers team that was banged up. I was a little surprised with the total at 49.5 though.
That's high, right? I want to come in on the under.
I thought it was high. I thought it was really high. I mean, I had the over in this Chiefs game, and they kick 4 or 5 field goals in the first half, and I still, if it goes to overtime, the new overtime rules, I felt like I was probably getting the over because one team scores a touchdown, they saw the team still has a chance. If other team scores a field goal, you have a chance. So I was like, man, I feel pretty good. We get to overtime, and then of course the Bengals left time on the clock for Mahomes, and then the running. You got to kick. I always said, punters kick the ball out of bounds. Or do that rugby kick where, it's like bump, 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 bump. So they can't return it. They just have to,
because
that 15 to 20 yard return that the guy got was the difference of, that and the hit out of bounds was there wouldn't have been enough time with just one timeout to score. So
it's terrible.
I would lean towards Eagles, but I have to look at the numbers a little more. It's just I feel like the Eagles are the more complete team. They have a much better defense, in my opinion. Much better.
How much crap are going to get with? Oh, it's Andy Reid versus old team.
Oh yeah, and then the Kelsey Bowl. That'll be the 2 storylines going in.
Can't stand Philadelphia fans.
A lot of times it comes down to quarterback though, and Jalen Hurts he's had a great year, MVP candidate, but he's no Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, every year he started at quarterback, he's been in the AFC Championship game. I mean, that is crazy. That's the
this
case,
is like this is like all the games the past weekend. Today. Like they're all short lines, pick a winner, who you think's gonna win, and it's I don't know. I mean, I like the Eagles better because of the defense.
In my opinion, because you're basically just picking the winner. You don't have to worry about the spread. I don't think the spread's going to come into effect. I don't see this line getting off of 1.5, one way or the other. So to me, I would always just play money line, even if I'm on the underdog. You just have to, can the Kansas City defense because I think the offenses are pretty close. Special teams,
defense is
it's about the same. But the defense of the Eagles seems significantly better. The only thing I would say, the AFC is way better, like top to bottom, in my opinion, than the NFC.
Yeah,
so the Eagles got a lot of wins against the NFC. So to me, it's like,
I guess, I don't know, man.
I mean, you look, the 49ers with their third-string quarterback – we're one game away from the Super Bowl in the NFC. If they're in the AFC, there's no way they're beating Buffalo, Cincinnati, or KC, in my opinion, with a third-string quarterback. I just don't think that. Especially
but you're also in a division that had 3 quarterbacks on the Rams and the Arizona team, which is terrible. I mean,
backup quarterback that had a career year in Seattle. It's like, to me, it's like I said, the NFC. I said this at the end of the year. If you move the teams, the top 3 teams, if you put Minnesota in the AFC. They're like 500, 9-8, 8-9 type teams.
They're the Jaguars.
Yeah, like they might make the playoffs. They might even win a game, but they're going to be towards the bottom side of the playoff seedings. And to me, it's like because you're in the NFC and the Packers had a rough year. Yeah, the Lions were decent. The Bears were terrible. I mean, it's like the NFC. There's 4 or 5 teams that are quality teams. I mean, the Cowboys. I thought same thing. If they're in the AFC, I think they're. I mean, they lost, what were they up 20 at Jacksonville, and they lost?
Blew that game, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they did that multiple times this year. They had to
Green Bay, same thing on the road. On the road in Green Bay,
the Texans. They had to win in the fourth quarter against the Texans late in this season.
Well, that's that's just that team. That's the coach. I don't like the coach. The Cowboys are a team that just plays down, and they did it in Green Bay. They had a big lead.
Do you think Jerry Jones wanted to lose in the first round so he could get Sean Payton? Because he's always loved Sean Payton.
Wow.
But
you could have had him before. You didn't want him.
Right. But this is the time you could have had him.
No, I don't want him.
You can't. It's like you can't win a playoff game and then have a pretty good year and fire your coach. Although I did see they're not bringing back Moore at offensive coordinator.
He's terrible.
I mean, I thought he was bad, but it's the quarterback makes bad decisions and throws it to the other team. I mean, offensive coordinator doesn't fix that.
You put him in spots to throw bad throw. I mean, I get it. He's a couple bad throws, but you're also calling these bad plays that all of a sudden he's throwing bad throws. Like, come on.
And then you got a running back that's like your starting running back.
Is a backup running back.
Is not even that. I don't even.
He's a goal line running back. He's a guy that weighs 280.
He's like a fullback. He's like a fullback now. It's like,
and they still use him like it's right. 5 years ago.
And they're paying him like he's the number 1 guy in the league. So to me,
he's got bad play calling.
Starts at the top with Dallas. You have bad management, bad ownership.
Yeah.
And, the Bengals were the same way. As a Bengals fan, Mike Brown was one of the worst owners. He always was meddling. And finally, when Marvin Lewis got there, after it took about 4, 5, 6 years, where Marvin Lewis is like, listen, you got to leave me alone or I'm getting out of here. And he started to trust him. And then, of course, they brought in Zach, and he's trusted him. And you see what happens when you kind of get out of people's way, if you have good people. And they finally have good people. So the Cowboys got to put a GM in there. That's not your son or a relative, and start running it like president of the league.
Yeah, not happening.
Because what's going to happen. The Washington is like that too. They're getting rid of their owner, so they're going to have good ownership. Because whoever coming in paying whatever it is, $5 billion or whatever, they're not a football person. They're going to hire a good GM, good president. They're going to be run right. So Washington is going to get better.
Maybe there could be a guy who's coming in and is going to want to do it my way, like the other guy.
No, it's what's the guy that's that's got the winning bid? I forget it. They originally thought it was going to be Jeff Bezos and Jay-Z, but doesn't sound like it's going to be that. But it's another it's like one of those equity guys. Like These guys, that's what they do. They bring in guys like Steve Cohen. He brings in football, baseball people and just says, listen, here's a blank check. Go spend the money. I mean, you look how good the Mets have gotten since he's been there.
It's all right. Listen, Braves are going to win that division again. We'll talk about that.
They might, but the Mets were a laughingstock for how many years?
That's because they choke.
Well, they weren't willing to spend the money. You're in a big market and you got the money, you don't spend it. So, but I can't wait for the Super Bowl. As good as the sides and totals are, the props, like all that stuff is like kind of what the Super Bowl is about to me. I mean, it's like there's so much to bet on and that you can create value in other ways. Not that you can't in every game, but there's just way more props to play.
You're going
everybody.
You're going Vegas Super Bowl? Where are you going? I'm thinking about going out first. I'm thinking about going out first week for conference tournaments. I
wanted to go for this week. I wanted to go. Well, I thought maybe I'd go to Arizona if the Bengals were there. So I didn't book anything. So I'm definitely not going Super Bowl week. And I was going to go for March Madness, but I started to look. Now that I don't have my condo out there anymore, I was like, you know what? It's not fun being in Vegas March Madness if you're just stuck in the casino because the game started at 9 a.m. in the morning. So it's like you got to get down there at 8 o'clock in a sports book, and you're there till 8 o'clock, and you can't go back and watch TV. In your one TV in your room. So I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to stay home having a big party at my house with a bunch of people. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the next 2 months. This is my favorite time of the year. College basketball, NBA. NBA.
Left, so.
I love the NBA.
I know you do.
I think the NBA. Especially this time of year, before the trade deadline. It's like I like baseball before the trade deadline. Same thing. Once the trade deadline happens, I have to cut so far back in the number of plays because teams are trying to lose.
Especially NBA. I mean, baseball, it's like...
Well, baseball this year, it was like literally, if you had a guy that had an extra nice bag of Big League Chew, you might try to get him just because, he could share it with other players or something. It was crazy this year at the trade deadline. I think the NBA is going to be the same this way because there's teams that are trying to get that kid from France. Can't even say his name.
Yeah, I know.
He's a 7'3" or whatever, and can shoot like Kevin
whatever
Durant.
His name is.
So, Michael Jordan is he's convinced he's going to get him. They're trying to lose. Literally, they set out guys when they're healthy, like pretty much every game.
But
But you can't get them. It's not the NFL that if your worst record get the number one pick.
Exactly.
The lottery,
you
could get the third or fourth pick, and guess what? It could fall way off. So to me, it's like, don't get me started. I think the NBA, what they should do for the teams that are out of it is put them in a tournament, and the winner of so there'll be half the league makes the tournament.
6,
now.
Yeah.
So you take the other teams that don't. So what's it? 12 teams, I think, and you play. Like an NCAA tournament, it's 1 and out. So it's like, and the winner gets the number one pick.
The best is when they pull the old Patrick Ewing frozen envelope and the Lakers get the number one pick this year.
Right.
Lakers with the number one pick. They had the fifth best odds. Somehow they get the number one pick.
We don't have to worry about the Lakers because they don't have any number one picks. So,
they don't? All right.
I think they've traded all them away. To me, it's I hate that the teams basically, you pull out of a hat. I think you should have to earn it. Like, hey, your bottom 12 teams, guess what? You play. First team that wins gets the number one. The team that comes runner-up gets number two. Everybody else falls in order of their record. So if you're the worst team in the league, the worst you could get would be the number 3 pick, which I think it's the way it is in the lottery now. That I think if you're the absolute worst, you think it's either 3 or 4. I think it's 3.
Yeah, NBA. Yeah.
It's crazy. So, but yeah, I think college basketball, this is, people that don't, in the texting app, I probably have 500 people I talk to every day on my VIP list. And there's a lot of people that don't bet college basketball. A lot that only bet the NBA and football, and then they'll bet baseball when it comes on. And I'm like, dude, you're missing out. Because college basketball, there's so many teams, especially on like a, Thursday or Saturday, Sunday on,
It's 150 games on a Saturday.
There's some weak lines. Even in like big conferences, there's weak lines sometimes. Like Kansas, Kentucky, not going to be a weak line in that game because it's such a premier game.
Yeah.
It's basically an NBA game that it's getting that much action. So you can have opinion and do what you want. But the other, like Wake Forest versus NC State the other day, like that could be a weak line because it's a team that's, not on the radar. It's on ESPN, but it's ESPN Plus. So, not everybody can get it. It's, because the televised games get the most action a lot. Most times too.
People want to watch it. It's on TV.
Right. So to me, it's like you just really are missing out if you're not getting into college basketball, especially on the big days like tomorrow. I don't know if you looked at the card for tomorrow.
Yeah, I got 2 games already bet.
It's, like I'm getting ready to do one of the reasons I came on is because I'm getting ready to film my video and you were already on. Because I got a little surgery in my mouth tomorrow at 7 something in the morning. I go under the knife, so to say. It's just a dentist appointment, but I got to be put under at 7:30. So I got to be there at 7:15. So I'm like, damn, I'm not getting up at 6:20 to do a video. But I like Syracuse tomorrow. Ugly dog theory.
Against Virginia.
Which
why not? No, I like it because it's a 4-point dog versus a top 10 team.
They absolutely were terrible against Virginia Tech on the road. I mean, Virginia Tech scored 90 or 100? 97, right? I believe.
85-70 they lost. 85-70 they lost.
Yes, the comeback at home in a 4.5-point underdog. It's like that's what they call the ugly dog theory. The uglier the dog, as the more it hurts. I think Chip Chibber must say this. The more it hurts you to bet it, probably the better play it is because it's.
See, I would look at this game and say it's Syracuse because you have a top 5, top 10 team giving a handful of points to a 13-9 team. It's just a no-brainer Syracuse bet.
It just I just probably put Virginia to win by 20, but and the Syracuse team had a shot with 11 seconds left to beat North Carolina last time.
Same with Texas Tech tomorrow. Favored 11 and 10 team favored over a top 15 team who's 13-5.
The only reason I like Baylor in that one. That Texas was a pretty big. No,
not Baylor. Texas Tech. Texas Tech and Iowa State. Texas Tech is a favorite, and you're 11.
I like Baylor though tomorrow too as a free play. I have this one I'm getting ready to give, and the reason I like Baylor, that Tennessee, because Rick Barnes, of course, the former coach at Texas, that was a lot of juice in that game. Both teams in the top 20, and it was not like they got beat up pretty good, Texas, in that game, and now they're coming home trying to lick their wounds. You also remember. I still don't know. Like they fired Chris Beard. This team was a top 10 team when they fired him.
Yeah.
Like it's not easy. It's just plugging an assistant in. I don't care how long you've been an assistant. If you're not an experienced sideline coach and getting teams ready, that is a big. These guys did not come there to play for you. They came there to play for the coach. I think it's a tough spot. I think Baylor wins. I love those Baylor 2 guards. Those Baylor 2 guards they're so good.
Syracuse is up to 5.5 too, by now. Let's say now.
Good. Let me mark that. So I'm going to give that out here once we're done. But there's not that much in college basketball tomorrow. I think there's one that Iowa State, Texas Tech, Baylor, Texas, Virginia, Syracuse. Pretty much all the other ones are much smaller conferences, which usually the Big Ten on Monday has, the Pac-12 or the Big 12. It used to be Big Monday that the Big 12 and the Big 10 always played on back-to-back on ESPN, but I don't know. I guess the Big Ten played today instead early.
Yeah, they had that
3
little
games today.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I miss the old Big Mondays. Big Mondays back in the day were great.
I love that because it usually was the Big Ten first. Because they're in the Eastern time zone. All those teams for the most part, especially back in the day, and then it would be like the Midwest time zone: Kansas, Iowa State, Iowa. Those type of areas that would be the Big 12 game, and it would come on like at 9:00, and it would just be awesome. Pretty much Kansas every week, it seemed like.
And then Tuesdays, when they had the midnight game, sometimes they'd roll out that Big West on like a Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, sometimes they would do the Mountain West or Gonzaga at like 11:30. Then to follow them up on Monday or even on Tuesday. I mean, I can't wait. To the Pac-12 comes, those two move from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten, because now you're going to probably have West Coast time zone starts for Eastern Coast teams.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to USC, they're not having a game at 7:00 because even at 9:00, that's 6:00, and the rush hour there in Los Angeles is crazy. Yeah. So that's why their games are 9 or 10 o'clock usually East or West Coast time. So you're going to have teams like Michigan have to go out there and play at, super late. It'll be like 1:00 in the morning their time. So, and then just the opposite for USC having to play at what would be, 4:00 Or how about noon games on
noon games?
Saturday?
If I'm scheduled, I'm scheduling all those. They come out at noon. That's like a 9 a.m. body clock game. I'm like, really?
Well, the problem is it's not the conference that schedules the games anymore. It's ESPN or Fox FS1.
Oh, okay.
Because, like they look to see who's good when you're playing, and then they say, this is what time we want you in.
Well, I think they come up with a schedule, and then they give them the times probably after the fact.
Right. Yeah, they get the time or the schedule, and then they say, okay, where do you want it? What time you want it, and then that's when they make the game. So it's gonna be a messed up. It's easier for football. Obviously, it's only once a week. They're always on weekends for the most part. But for basketball and any other sport, it's the dumbest thing ever. I mean, the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
To me, just blow up conferences and make them East Coast. Like the ACC should only be teams on the coast. Then you do the Midwest, like Louisville, Kentucky, UC, Xavier, Indiana should all be in the same conference. They're all within 2-3 hours of each other. So the rivalries would be ridiculous. And then do the Western Midwest, and then do the West. And you could still have
that's not happening.
The Big Ten ACC rivalry teams, that you match them up during the year. Like this, that was awesome. The Big 12 playing the SEC this weekend was awesome. I wish the ACC Big Ten would do theirs mid-conference too, instead of early in this year.
Yeah, I want to see a little more of a flow to the games, guys.
Right, because early in the year, guys are just got there, transfer.
Takes time to gel.
New coaches, it's like you're trying to put so much in. I guess that's
why I love those February bracket buster Saturday games. When they have.
I think they like those. I think it's a TV thing. Like, hey, ESPN, we need decent games in October.
They thought it's
November
tournaments at Madison Square Garden. Oh, the Heroes tournament here at MSG, and
the Coaches Classic. I think there's a Coaches Classic or whatever. It seems like there's a Coaches for Cancer, in every place in America. Every time I turn it on, it's like, it's Coaches for Cancer. I'm like, again?
Bahama Jam or whatever it is, Paradise Jam.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, so you're leaning Eagles?
I'm leaning Eagles, and probably I want to do the under here. I don't think. I mean, the Eagles are going to score a little bit, but I don't know. 49.5 just seems high, but it is going to be it's a field conducive to scoring in Arizona. I'm not expecting bad weather.
But last year's game was under, right?
I don't even know who played last year.
Rams. It was 23-20. It finished the exact same score. I heard him say that the Bengals lost the last two playoff games, 23-20, exact same score. So that's
right. I totally forgot. Come on, forget about that. That's a whole year ago. I try not to worry about today's games that are over.
The worst record ever for a Super Bowl winner the next year was the Rams.
He got a lot of injuries. You knew that was going to happen out of the gate with Stafford coming in hurt. He was hurt.
It wasn't going to matter because they had to let a lot of guys go. It's like they won it by buying guys, so they couldn't re-sign Von Miller. OBJ wasn't healthy, so he couldn't come back. Nor could they afford him right away. And then Stafford was banged up. But and to me, what's their defensive? Aaron Donald was basically a week before the season. He was like, I don't know if I want to play. Basically, he wanted a new contract. So it's like, how hard did he really work in the offseason? Because he was like, I might retire.
Yep.
It's I don't know what you can do, but buying championships, which is what they did, 100%. The trade they made to get Von Miller was crazy to be able to get him when they were basically maxed out on salary anyway. Yeah. And then to get Stafford, they did the same thing. It's like they gave away 5 years worth of the draft.
But you won. You got to get the win. You got to win. So there it is. Now you're going to suffer.
What would you rather be? What's your team?
Cowboys.
Giants? Cowboys.
Giants. I'm going to take you out of the room for that one. Giants.
So okay, Cowboys fan. Would you take one championship, but you are going to be terrible for the next one championship, but you're going to not even make the playoffs for the next 5 years?
What are you talking? I took 3 and I haven't been good since '95. What are you talking about? I mean,
but now if they stay in the playoffs, it's like everybody makes the playoffs. It's any good, so it's like you should make.
No,
the playoffs.
I want a good team where I have a shot every year. All right, who knows? I think
I would not take the championship if I had to go get But I mean, now I got Joe Burrow, so it's like we don't need that.
Yeah, you're good. You got a good offense and defenses. I think defenses in the NFL some are great one year, right? You have swings. It really comes down to who's getting called on that pass interference down the field on 3rd and 16. It flips the field, and all of a sudden they get 7 instead of a punt or 3. That's what it comes down to. So you got to put up great numbers, but
they got to figure a way for salary cap. And I don't know the number, so I'm not going to say I do. Once you pay your quarterback, it's almost impossible to stay good, the whole team, because you pay him, 5, 10, like they paid Joe Burrow. It's going to be 10 times what he makes in the rookie contract against the salary cap. So you're going to have to get rid of offensive linemen, defensive linemen, cornerbacks. All of a sudden, now you're playing all rookies at these spots. So then you're going to fall down. I mean, the Buffalo guy wasn't wrong. The GM's like, hey, I don't want to be bad just to get Jamar Chase. Joe Burrow got hurt his rookie year. That's why they were bad. Otherwise, he would have gotten more wins. But I get what he's saying. It's like, once you're good and you pay Josh Allen and you pay Diggs, everybody else has got to be rookies pretty much.
Yeah. Or you're the Rams.
Or you're the remember how when they run with Russell Wilson early in his career, and then once they paid him, all offensive linemen were terrible because they basically had to have young guys or guys they were, like old veterans they were trying to like bring back off the scrap heap.
But that's the thing. Like you want to get paid in any position because it's over and
it's a short career.
One game you could blow your knee and that's it. And there's no guarantee. These guys don't guarantee contracts.
Yep. And
the quarterbacks are always reworking contracts because they're getting paid $20 million a year, 30, whatever they are.
40 million. No.
40. Exactly. It's ridiculous.
40 million. I do like what the NBA does. Like if you're good, you can keep signing all your players and go way over it. We're going to tax you. Yeah. So like this year, the Warriors are going to pay $200 million. They're going to pay as much as their payroll and tax back to the rest of the team.
Yeah, those. I mean,
but they can keep all their
that was like the old Larry Bird race, right? You could re-up with your old team, right?
Yeah. So you can keep signing. So if you do a good job drafting and like Jordan Poole and all those guys, you keep getting good guys, you can keep signing them. Yeah. Now everybody else has got to be on rookie minimums or you get one guy.
What's that? The veteran minimum for like $7 million or something to come in. Some guy
4.2. You can sign like so
mid-level exception.
But $200 million. You don't think those other owners are like, you know what? Keep doing that. $200 million. You start doing the math. There's all these teams paying the tax.
Yeah.
The really bad teams are getting a check for like $25 million.
Yeah.
To put in their bank that they don't have to spend. Yeah. So I if I'm the Chiefs, they've done a great job. Kelsey, you look at all those guys. They had to let what's his name Cheetah go, just because of. But imagine if he's on that team.
Yeah,
that'd be a game changer. But they had to let him go because of money.
Remember, they weren't supposed to be good because he's leaving. How are they gonna make the playoffs without
Which
him?
I never believed that. I was always like, people are like, I did think. I would say the two teams I was out. I way over expectations was the Chargers and the Raiders. I thought both those teams would be, like marginal playoff teams and possibly be able to contend with Kansas City. I was wrong about both.
I think the Chargers I always think could be good because they had the talent, but the coach is terrible. And the team I was totally wrong on, Indianapolis. I was expecting the whole team to just drop off, hurt, bad play. That was just a colossal anything that could go wrong. Running back hurt. Quarterback is clueless because the offensive line has got one starter. The defense falls apart. Like that, you can't predict that kind of stuff.
I would say that those are the two teams I was out on that I just completely whiffed on.
I also said Philly and Dallas unders.
I wouldn't say the Chargers I was completely whiffed on because they were obviously right there.
They had a 30-0 lead in the playoffs. You should be all right.
But the team that I was in on that I should get like a feather in the cap was the Jaguars. I thought because just the coaching,
well,
the
that's
guy,
just
to me that
total
that
360.
That was going to go.
Actually, it can't be 360. That's a full circle. 180. We need a 180 flip, not a 360.
Right. So to me, that was the team. I thought the Jets and the Giants are both going to be terrible. So I was like, I guess they weren't terrible, but they weren't like they were way. I didn't think they could do what they did.
Yeah, they definitely improved.
I still think both those teams are a lot farther away than what the record looks like. Like the Jets are quarterback away, so that's like a problem.
Yeah, but there's a lot of quarterbacks out there now, so
I don't think so. I think there's like, Big Cat from Barstool does this thing every week where it's like, he ranks all the quarterbacks. He does it in a funny way because he's of course funny, but it's like, Patrick Mahomes, and then it's like, okay, Joe Burrow and the guy from the Bills, Josh Allen, and then it starts going down, and then he's like, you get
Zach
down
Wilson.
to the bottom. It's like the Texans quarterbacks, and he ranks them all. It's like it doesn't matter which one. So to me, it's like there's 4 or 5 guys that are elite, like you want, and then that next 6, 7, 8. It's like, yeah, we can win with them. It's the Bengals, Andy Dalton. Like we got to the playoffs a bunch, but we were never like a threat to win it all ever.
The
now, granted,
proverbial
if you give us the Ravens
manager.
defense that they won the Super Bowl with, maybe he would have been good enough. But it's like that defense isn't coming around anymore in the NFL because you can't play defense like that anymore.
Yeah,
like you touch a guy now, you breathe on him.
I know.
That
was good football back in the day. That's another topic I should have touched on.
You can't rush the passer, and you can't keep guys from coming across the middle or touch them off the line of scrimmage. Pretty much, it made its offense is always going to rule now. Always. Yeah. You're not winning like the Ravens did, or even the Giants back in the day when they had those great defenses, Lawrence Taylor defenses and stuff. So, okay, so you think Daniel Jones is a keeper though, because they're going to have to pay him now if they keep him.
I don't know,
28 to 30 million.
I wouldn't pay him. I didn't want to pay Dak. Why would I go pay Daniel Jones? But you know what though?
But what are you going to do? Because you're in the middle of the draft. You're not getting a quarterback there.
Maybe I'd sign him because I see how he changed. He wasn't a turnover machine. He wasn't fumbling, throwing bad picks like he was in previous years.
Maybe you franchise him,
And then
you got to pay him more, but it's only 1 year.
But think of Allen and how he's all over the place. He was second in fumbles, second in interceptions.
Yeah.
What's the difference there? The coach is on the Giants, and that guy is controlling his turnovers. The guy who he left regressed back to his rookie numbers. Maybe Daniel Jones is okay.
The problem is it's kind of like a Cousins. Cousins gets paid like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, but he put up numbers like Patrick Mahomes. The guy's got 100 touchdowns. He's up there.
Right, but
he's top 3 in touchdown passes the last 3 years with Mahomes up there and Allen.
But
he's right up there stat wise.
If you ranked quarterbacks, he would be 12 to 15.
I'm just saying the stats.
Once you pay that guy, now your whole defense it's got to suck, or your whole offensive line, or maybe your running back, or whatever. You're going to be less somewhere. You're almost got to win with rookie quarterbacks now. I mean, that's why Jalen Hurts seems good. Jalen Hurts isn't getting paid. Not big because he wasn't a top draft pick. So, I mean, they have a really good defense. Look what that defense makes. If you go down that roster, they have a lot of guys making, 10 to 20. So it's like that's got to have to go away once you pay Jalen Hurts, especially if he wins the MVP, which I think him or Mahomes are going to win it.
I'd give Mahomes guys 5,000 yards passing and 40 touchdowns.
Yeah, but it's kind of like LeBron doesn't get the MVP every year, or Curry doesn't get the MVP. It's like, people get tired of voting for the same person, and they like, hey, Jalen Hurts' team was better. They had more wins. The only thing I think that Mahomes, he played more games because, Hurts missed those, handful of games. So, but the Jets and the Giants feel like the same thing. Like, they don't have an elite quarterback. So if Aaron Rodgers
what about the Jets getting Derek Carr?
I don't know if that's an upgrade. I mean, upgrade of what they had. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, like, upgrade compared to the rest of the league, teams that are in the playoffs. I don't know.
See, I thought Garoppolo was going to go there because of his Niners ties. But now that Ryans is going to Texans, I think he's going to pick up Garoppolo. I think he'll take some coordinators. He's familiar with them. I think the defense will be improved. And I think there's some I think guys that want to play for him. And I think as much as the Jaguars and the Titans are there, I don't think I think that's a winnable division.
The Titans are the one that need a quarterback. If the Titans had a above average quarterback with that running game and defense and great coach, I mean, they would be scary good. But it's like, it gets to the playoffs and Tannehill, the Bengals, what do you have? Bengals had 6 sacks. They allowed 6 sacks and they still won because Tannehill gave them the ball 3 times.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like,
I had Tennessee that game.
Like Aaron Rodgers is going to be the wild card. If he's on the trade market.
The guy's making $40 million. I mean, you can't, who's swallowing that? And I think
it would have to be someone like the Jets. That's like, they have a lot of rookies on defense. That defense is so young. So they're not like guys making.
That's a Super Bowl caliber defense. That's a defense you can win with,
And they have some weapons at receivers.
Yeah, they have a running back who wasn't hurt. They have an offensive line that, again, got hurt, and that kind of reflects on. Zach Wilson was, 5-2, 6-3, whatever he was as a,
I mean, what if he goes
the numbers weren't there.
What if he goes to the Patriots?
Who's that? Rodgers? Do they got the money?
I mean, like they don't have any big time, like contracts.
See,
like,
I'm wondering if Rodgers just sits down and says, you know what, retires in June, and Green Bay gets hit with their $20 million or whatever penalty, and then he signs with somebody else, so it doesn't crush.
Well, they have until like training camp. His contract is very weird. They actually have until the start of training camp to trade him, that it doesn't go against their cap number. So they have a long time. Like Derek Carr, they either have to cut him or trade him by day one of the season, which I think is like a day or two after the Super Bowl, a week after the Super Bowl. So they're on the clock, which is really going to be a problem for the Raiders, because if you think you can get Aaron Rodgers, if you're the Jets, you're not trading for Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Like that's not even close, because I still think Aaron Rodgers is maybe not the MVP he was a couple seasons ago, but he's pretty damn close. And then there's Tom Brady.
I'm not.
If Tom Brady
Rodgers
goes to the Raiders, plays for his old offensive coordinator with the best receiver in football or top 3.
That team's still trash. No,
their defense is good though. Crosby, they have the best. They had the running back with the most yards this year, even though I don't think he's unbelievable. But
I think he's coming back.
Is he? Right, but he's still got the most yards. He's got the most yards. I think they're going to franchise. You can franchise a running back. It's like $7 million. It's nothing because running backs don't make anything anymore.
Yeah. Unless you're the Cowboys running back.
Yeah, he's probably top, but I don't think he'll be back. But like the Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers could go screw the Raiders, because you'll have to cut them because you cannot take the salary cap penalty. And it's not like Derek Carr is going to get you a first rounder. You trade Derek Carr, you're getting like a 2nd and 5th, or 3rd and 5th, 3rd and 4th. Like you're just not. I mean, like you put him on the bench when you still had a chance to make the playoffs. That's how much you liked him.
That was. I mean, you benched him.
That was like. I still think there had to be more to that whole story. I mean, it never came out, so maybe not. But to me, it's like, is he better than Daniel Jones?
I don't know. Jones showed me a lot this year.
He's like, but he's in that range. It's like, I don't think you can get to the playoffs. They got to the playoffs the year before with Derek Carr, if you remember that collapse by the Chargers. But to me, it's a very I don't know if I want to trade for Derek Carr. If you give him to me as a free agent, I can pick him up and I can sign him for what I want. Okay, that's a different story. I don't have to give up any draft picks.
Oh, it's be interesting.
Can't wait. I love the NFL offseason. I love the draft. I love it. The NFL does such a good job at staying relevant pretty much like 10 months out of the year. It's like, and they're going to figure out a way. You watch, the NFL will figure out a way to fill those other 2 months to make money for their NFL network.
Well, they do. They have that USFL nonsense.
But they don't own that, right?
I don't know. I'm just
NBC and Fox are co-broadcasting that.
They'll come up with something.
They do have a handshake agreement, I think, with the XFL and The Rock. I don't know what that means. I don't get it. I don't know. I'm hoping that it's decent football, but how can it be? It's like, if you're not good enough to play in the NFL and you're not in the CFL already under contract, how great can you be?
Yeah. Let it go. Let everybody.
And now that kids can get paid. I'm not coming out of college now like I used to because I need money. I can make
these guys are getting $1 million at nil
before I even play. I mean, what was the kid that was going to go to Florida and then he was going to make $12 million over 4 years?
And that's fine. You know what? I think that'll be a better product in college and in the NFL. It's kind of like basketball. Hopefully, these kids kind of stay a little bit and play a little basketball. So you come out and learn how to shoot a free throw, and you see better teams and better chemistry and stuff like that.
It helps both. You're right. One, you're going to have teams in the tournament that'll be like veteran teams. So I think that'll make the
NBA wise, you can't have. I know. Listen, I mean, you have a rare freak who's 18, who's like a grown man. Most of these kids are still developing. You see, I mean, how many guys come out? They look like they're 180 pounds. Like, how are you going to play NBA against these guys? Like Shaq came out of college. The guy was a string beam.
Yeah,
he was a 7-foot string beam,
and he stayed for 3 years in college. So it's not
and he
like
played for 2 years in the NBA. The dude's the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, how do you come out and think you're going to be good? You're not. It's so rare. Like, you see these draft picks. How many of these guys are?
I mean, Calipari, like, because he's, these guys are making ridiculous money at Kentucky. How do you recruit, though? Because now it used to be like basically they were all going pro, so you had to replace your team every year. You could just go get the next best 4 McDonald's All-Americans. Now you can't because these kids might not leave.
But that's fine because your team's going to be better, and then you just got to pick and choose.
Right, but those kids won't go there, though. Like, kids not coming out of high school and getting paid $1 million and sitting on the bench. Like, you know what I mean? They don't want to do it. They'll go somewhere else.
But that's where he's got to. That's where he's got to work in and say, you know what, you're going to come in, you're going to play this amount of time.
That's
maybe you got to play.
He's such a bad coach too. Like, I think the kids develop as far as like their skill set develops for the NBA. I mean, it's proven. I mean, look at all the Kentucky players in the NBA that are superstars. But he is a terrible coach. I mean, like, Bill Self versus him this weekend was like not even fair. I mean, Bill Self game day coach.
I had Kentucky. I'm like, you know what, Kentucky, they've changed, they've turned on. Maybe they're kind of getting their little flow from the beginning of the year. Yeah.
You just watch the sets that Kentucky runs. It's terrible. It might work if you were in the NBA, I guess, but they're not good shooters. They never have great shooters because they're all so young and they're all just ridiculous athletes.
Yeah, because everybody just wants to run in and dunk or shoot a 37-foot three.
Like, well, I'm getting the kid that has a 40-inch vertical. It's like, yeah, but he can't shoot free throws or a jump shot. Now the league is every league. I go to high school. My girlfriend's son plays. Every kid shoots 1 million threes. It don't matter if you're tall or short. College, same way. The 3-point line and Steph Curry completely changed basketball. Big kids, little kids, everybody wants to shoot 3. Nobody plays inside with their back to the basket anymore. So it's like, and Kentucky plays like it's 15, 20 years ago, and the 3-point line was like just coming around and like, that's just a fad. It's like, dude, you have to make threes. Like, you cannot win consistently if you don't have good 3-point shooting. It's just
because the teams that come in and shoot 15 of 36 one day and just bury you from behind.
And Kentucky's players, even though they're terrible shooters, they still shoot them. So it's like, because that's what everybody does now. So it is Calipari is a great recruiter, and he's fun to listen to and all the sound bites and all that. But man, if I was a Kentucky fan, it would be tough because you have Derrick Rose and like the guys he's had through there, Anthony Davis and all them, and he's got 1 championship.
Marcus Gamby. He had Marcus Gamby at UMass.
Yeah, I mean, he has had some of the greatest in our generation players on the same team. He had Booker as the 4th best player on that team. Karl-Anthony Towns was on that team. I mean, it was the half-half. The only one he won was Anthony Davis, was a superstar that didn't need the ball. He was a great defender and great rebounder, and everybody played. He was so unselfish. He's never, like John Wall didn't win with John Wall, right?
Nope.
So I can't wait till March Madness time. That's for sure.
We're a month away. We're a month away from conference tournaments already.
Is it?
29th. Yes. February 29th they start up.
Is that like the small ones? Is that week? Okay.
Those are good ones. Whatever. Don't roll your eye at me over here, kid. This
is
Horizon League.
People always say, how do you pick your winners? I don't know what you tell people, but to me, 90% of what I pick is by watching teams. And I watch a ton of sports. I don't watch anything. That's pretty much all I do. And then the other 10%
load up
is
the
numbers.
Stats.
Because sometimes, I can't watch just every game. Or, I didn't catch their last game, so I want to look at the stats to see, are they hot? Are they cold? Against a good defensive team, all that stuff. But it's so tough because you can't watch these small conference tournaments. Even though, I have every possible thing you can get. Every package you can buy at DirecTV for every sport, I buy. And there's, you just still can't get them all. It's like, because
I love this.
UMass Lowell, you don't get to watch them. Hell, you don't get to watch UMass anymore. They're so bad. They're so bad.
UMass.
I was going through the other day, because you know who the UMass coach is, right?
No, who's coaching them?
It's the guy from South Carolina. He won at Kansas State.
Frank Martin?
Frank Martin is, he got fired and he got the UMass job. And I'm like, Frank Martin, because the last time Kansas State was in the top 5 like they are now, Frank Martin was the coach. And Beasley was the player of the year.
Michael Beasley, yes.
Yeah, he was the player of the year for him. Because he was recruited by Huggins. Huggins left. His coach was Frank Martin, was the assistant, and he got the job because he recruited him. And they were only way they was going to stay. So it's like, then he went to South Carolina, goes to the Final Four. They fire him for some goddamn reason. Like, I mean, you're never good. This guy takes you to the Final Four. They haven't been good. I get it.
He was too mean. He yelled at the players or something.
Right. You fire him. He goes to UMass. I'm guessing he'll probably get UMass turned around. They're terrible this year. But.
Yeah, no, I'll give him. He's
the problem now is if you transfer, you go from a big school to a small school as a coach. All those kids that are any good, they're transferring like to a bigger school if they're any good because you can transfer without sitting out and play. Go from UMass to Kentucky or UMass to Syracuse or whatever.
That just killed this year in bowls. I got losing bowl year. I think I'm like 12-15, like terrible. Like these portals things are just bad. I can't. Next year, I'll tell you what. Up until the
football,
playoffs,
they should make them stay around till after the bowl games.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna just bet every under until those, until the January bowls.
Yeah.
Because those guys, I know I'm going to stay. Those guys playing in the Sugar Bowl, those guys are probably staying and not going to leave. Anything before that, I'm going unders because you got players leaving, chunks of players leaving. And your top 3 or 4 guys on mid-majors going out from the MAC or Mountain West, they all go somewhere else. The coaches out the door, backup coaches, coordinators out the door, unders all the way.
When they're making more bowls, they need to make less, to be very honest.
I say it all the time. I want less bowls. I want less playoffs. I want less baseball
and to me,
teams.
The teams that stay in the bowl, tie the NIL money because it's not usually a little bit, it's a lot. Like, hey, you're not getting your last quarter of your NIL money, so $250,000 unless you play in the bowl game. Because if I'm the Sharpie company and I'm sponsoring you.
Yeah.
I want you to play in the bowl so that you can talk about my Sharpies that week. I grant it, they're just making up companies now to pay these guys, so it's a different story.
What, the Jimmy Kimmel Bowl? Jimmy Kimmel writes check for these guys?
No, the NIL people, they form these groups. I got an email because I'm a booster for Cincinnati for the girls basketball. I bought tickets. My dad bought them starting, before I was born, so almost 50 years now. And they said they're going to the Big 12, so they're like, your ticket prices go up. So we have on-floor tickets. I'm on the wood. Have been my whole life. $125 for the season tickets. I have 6 tickets. And they're like, we're increasing they said we're increasing the ticket prices to $150. I'm like, they have like 200 season ticket holders. I'm like, what is that going to do? You're going to have like an extra $2,000. They're like, then I get the next week, I get a thing saying, we're trying to put these NIL conglomerates together where you donate whatever you want. It's tax-free, so you get to write it off your taxes. So if you want to donate $5,000, and everybody just donates what they want, and then they use that money to try to get kids to play. So it's not like companies. I mean, sometimes they are, but it's like, and that's how like Texas A&M, they have like 20 groups like this.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm in A&M country down here, bro. These guys are insane. They are nuts, these A&M people down here. Holy cow.
They should have never left the Big 12. Like, Texas is going to see, Oklahoma's going to see. You go from Big 12 to SEC, it's a different game. I mean, you're the top. You're Texas A&M when you're in the Big 12 and Oklahoma, you're the top. You are the top of the food chain. When you go to the to the SEC, you are the middle of the food chain.
Yeah, you are
you're
third
like fourth,
at best.
Fifth, sixth. Auburn, even though they're not great, they spend way more money. Tennessee's going to spend way more money than you. South Carolina, they spend way more money. Like, it's a different. You're just. I was going to say,
even at best, you're not getting over Georgia and Alabama.
Right, Georgia,
You'll
Alabama,
never be number
LSU.
one.
These are teams that like.
I forgot LSU. Yeah, LSU.
Yeah, Florida. Like, I mean, Florida. You win 8 games, you're getting fired. Like they don't keep Jimbo Fisher if he does what he did this year. I guarantee it. I mean, remember they went and got the Mississippi State coach that was there before under Tebow, right? What was that guy's name? Mullen.
Yeah, Mullen. Right?
Yeah. They fired him after 3 seasons? He had a couple good ones too.
Yeah, I think it was like 9.
They bring in Billy Napier. He has 1 good year, and now he's back again. And now he lost his quarterback. They just sucked again. It's
he came over from Louisiana, right?
So what is Texas doing? By the way, you're in Texas. They have 2 of the highest NIL guys on the same roster at quarterback.
Yeah,
and one of them's named Manning. I don't think he's going there to be the backup.
Well, I think Sark. I mean, that guy keeps getting chances. I don't know why. I mean, I have no idea what's going on here.
People hire Alabama's offensive coordinator, defensive coordinators, and other than Kirby Smart, which Kirby Smart was there for like 12 years.
Yeah.
Like, so he learned a lot. It's like, all these other guys are there for a cup of coffee a year or 2 to like,
Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin.
And I do think Lane Kiffin's good, but Sark, no. But it's like, you hire these guys, and then you think they're going to be great all of a sudden. It's like, did you not see Sarkisian at USC, at Washington?
Yeah, Washington.
Average.
man.
I mean, he was decent at Washington. They beat USC a couple years.
You're a good offensive coordinator. I get it. I mean, some guys just aren't good head coaches. Like Dan, some brought up
not at the
Dan
level
Quinn.
of Texas, too. Not at the expectations of Texas.
Some guys are good coordinators, like Dan Quinn for Dallas. He's a great coordinator. Head coaching wasn't his really gig. You know, if Sark, offense coordinator, your offenses have been great when you were coaching.
But I think it's timing a lot of times. College is a lot tougher than the NFL. Like the NFL.
Yeah. Oh, you think?
You don't have to recruit. You know, the guys come in and you work with the guys that you draft and sign. I mean, it's like college isn't like, I cannot believe guys want to coach college.
No. And I mean, I see that here on the high school level. My son played high school. These coaches are just, and it's Texas football. So you can just imagine in and out. And we need all types of coaches and I can't even imagine what college office like because I see the high school level on a front row.
And now the guys can leave. Like if you can't coach them anymore because if you're mean to them, that they're making $1 million.
I'm leaving.
They're just going to.
I'm leaving.
Or you don't get to play. College basketball is going to be the worst because at football there's so many guys you can have on special teams. They can be on the nickel package. You know, like offense, especially like running backs, receivers.
Basketball, you got an 8-man rotation. Maybe most teams have like a 6 or
right. And you only got so many minutes. It's like you only got 5 guys in at a time. If you're the 7th, 8th guy, you think that guy's going to be the 7th, 8th guy. He's like a McDonald's All-American. It's like we're going to work him in, and all of a sudden it's not working out.
Well, that's why that's why like I'll pull up like Southland teams. Like, here's Tennessee Tech. This guy, a transfer from Memphis. This guy was in Mississippi. Yeah. Like it's a deep bench guy from a Power 5 school playing at these. Why wouldn't you? Oh, you're going to give me $50,000? I don't care. I'll come and play here.
I think that's going to be harder now. Like, because what happens is the really good guys from the little schools go to the big schools. Yeah. And the guys that are coming down from the big schools aren't going to be difference makers, in my opinion, in like tournament. Like, they're not. I just don't think
but at that level, I mean, if you get like
right, they'll be in conference play. But I'm talking about like the NCAA tournament, which is I always love the experienced teams in NCAA tournament.
Yes.
It's hard now because they lose the experience. The other day I was watching Iowa State. They have 2 guys from St. Bonaventure, 2 that good center and in a guard. If you put that back on St. Bonaventure is one of the best in the A-10.
Yeah, they were also
they were the COVID guys that got the extra year, so they're 6-year seniors. And to me, now they go to Iowa State. Look how good Iowa State is. Yep. It's like, I can't wait till the COVID's over. Like the guys that can play for 6 years, like Foster Lawyer. I went to coached with John Lawyer. I worked camps for Bob Huggins, and John Lawyer was the assistant coach for Cincinnati back then. And his son was at Michigan State, was like their 6th or 7th man. He transferred as a 5th-year senior to Davidson, was their starting point guard last year. He got another year because of COVID years. Everybody get the 6th year, so he's back. I'm watching him play the other night. I'm like, damn, I forgot. I thought he graduated because I hadn't seen Davidson this year. And it was Friday night when they were on with playing St. Louis.
But a lot of those middle schools are going to benefit from that, which is
right. But for one more year, right? Like I think it's one more year, and then it's like all those guys, will be gone.
But I'm just saying that it helps them more than it does a Kentucky or UCLA.
Right. Other than like I said, that St. Bonaventure guys can go from St. Bonaventure to Iowa State. Or St.
But that's the thing. Some of these kids, they're staying with their team.
Yeah, I love that 5th-year rule back, now that kids can transfer without sitting out anyway. But it used to be that 5th year. You had to graduate, and then you could be the 5th year. You still only got 4 years to play, but say you redshirted your freshman, sophomore year, then that 5th year you could transfer without sitting out. And those kids, remember the UNLV coach went to UNLV to play for his dad, Lon Kruger, and the UNLV made that big tournament run. He was one of those 5th-year grad transfers, one of the first ones that actually did it. And now he's the UNLV coach. 15 years later, 10 years later.
That's right, Lon Kruger.
Lon Kruger it seemed like he coached everywhere.
I was going to say, like
Oklahoma, UNLV, Illinois, right?
I was going to say it was Illinois, yeah.
Where else? He started where? I can't think.
Arizona? No.
I can't think of where he started. But I mean, it seemed like every 2-3 years he would go somewhere, and they would be good. He'd make a tournament run, and then he'd leave. It was. Coaches don't do that anymore. Like just Bruce Weber seemed like he did that a little bit. Like he went to Illinois, that he went somewhere, then he went to Illinois. They ran him out of Illinois. He stayed at Kansas State for all those years, and now he's gone. Now Kansas State is. Ooh,
all right, he was at Florida first, Illinois, went to the Atlanta Hawks, UNLV in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, it's I
Who was the Arizona coach back in the day who was there forever? That I'm confusing with.
His name was Lon, right? He had the white hair.
Not Lon Chaney. He was the Werewolf of London.
No. I can't remember. Steve Kerr played for him. And they won that championship with the only championship they won was
Lute
with
Olson.
Simon. Lute Olson. They won the championship with Simon as the point guard.
Simon.
And,
yeah, I had Miles Simon Miles Simon here as a player prop today instead of
I was in the
instead of Miles Sanders.
I was in college. This tells you how long ago it was. And I played basketball in college, and everybody knew I loved, I lived and died UC basketball, Bob Huggins. And Danny Fortson played back then, Bob Huggins went and played anybody, anywhere, because they played in a shit conference.
They were a good team, man. Nick Van Exel.
To Arizona. It was that year they won the championship, and Miles Simon it was tied, and he got the ball at the other foul line and throws it the full length of the court and banks it in to win the game. And, back then that was when everybody had voicemail, like a voicemail on campus. So, I must have 20 people call and say, Simon says you lose, bitch. Simon says, Simon says, because Miles Simon hit the shot. So I was like, still today when I would go get together, all the basketball team, they'll be like,
Arizona newspaper ran their article that said, it was Kentucky that said Arizona stops Kentucky three-peat after when Kentucky won the championship next year because they won, they lost, they won.
Yep.
And his article was like Arizona stopping a three-peat. Like, really?
Well, they had Bibby was the point guard on that team. Richard Jefferson was the shooting forward, and Miles Simon was the guard. They had a big center too that made the NBA. They had 3 or 4 guys that Arizona team make the pros. So Arizona always was loaded with talent, but Lute Olson not the best game day coach.
Yeah.
So
they were always like a 2. They were like a 2 seed that lost. They pulled to Syracuse and lost to a 15.
Remember they had what's that guy called Minnie Mouse or whatever that played for the Raptors? His left-handed.
David Stoudemire
at Arizona. I mean, he was awesome.
And I'll tell you who was his backcourt teammate was Khalid Reeves.
Yeah. He
played for the Nets.
He had some of the best players, but then they just, it was this Pac-12 basketball. I was just telling someone the other day, other than UCLA, don't trust anybody that conference come tournament time.
No.
What's up with Oregon? They can't win on the road. Neither, and UCLA hasn't either lately. But it's like UCLA has went on the road and won some tough games already this year in some of these tournaments.
Yeah, but really I talked about UCLA the other day. They went up there and played the Washington two-step in Oregon. They're going to drop one of those. They're all. It's like I'm like you see these short phase 4 or 5.
And they played them right before they were coming back to play USC, their rival. So that was like,
no, it's a bad spot. You can't do that up there.
I hate the way the Big 12 or the Pac-12 does their. Because if you're going on the road, you're playing Washington State, or you're going to play Arizona State.
Yep.
Whereas a lot of other conferences, you only go to the road for one game, and you come back home. And they play Thursday, Saturday a lot of times, where it's like one day in between, and you're traveling. I was like, dude, that's not good. Play Thursday, Sunday, so that
No, they figure, hey, it's in state, it's not that far. Hop on a bus.
They're trying to save money, is what they're trying to do. So
hop on a bus. It ain't that far.
It's like I don't like it.
I mean, I have no idea how far Eugene is from Corvallis. I mean, I don't know.
Can't be too far. Those states. I think those states are like whoop. They're probably huge though. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I know you pull that here in Texas, boy. It's like, it's only like a 4-hour drive here.
I can't wait for the new Big 12 with Cincinnati entering the new Big 12. Basketball wise, I mean, Cincinnati was going to play my boy Bob Huggins twice a year now. That'll be awesome. Houston basketball is back for real, obviously.
Yeah.
So imagine Houston, Kansas this year. How good would that be? Houston, Kansas State. How good would that be this year?
Houston Houston played Bama. They played Gonzaga, right? I think they played Texas.
They
Virginia.
played a good schedule. They knew they were going to be good this year. It's like, the new guy at Cincinnati, the new coach, he's really good. He almost got because he's from UNC. He almost got the job instead of Hubert Davis at North Carolina. Roy Williams wanted him to get the job originally.
Really? Well, they're going to go Hubert off the bench. So
that was they were like, So, Andy had the NBA experience. But Wes Miller is a stud recruiter. He's a stud coach. He's going to be good. And now that you're in the Big 12 where, it matters, you're playing Kansas twice a year. You're playing West Virginia twice a year, Kansas State. Now, granted, you're losing Texas and Oklahoma. But basketball-wise, that's not the end of the world. It's not like football where –
yeah. No, Texas is all right, but they always choke. In Oklahoma, maybe you'll get there'll be a tournament team because they're in a big conference. They're going to be 18-12, so they'll get a bid.
Someone says it matters in Texas. until spring practice. Like they start talking about spring practice, and no one gives a shit.
Yeah,
for football, because that's all that matters in the state of Texas. I remember I lived in Columbus for about 4 years. As much as I hate Ohio State, I lived there for 4 years, and they won the championship in football when I lived there, which was just absolutely. They hadn't won in over 50 years. They won, and that like next year,
put an asterisk next to that.
They were in the bowl game. They were in the bowl game. They were in the Final Four. I mean, with Scooney Penn and Michael Redd.
Penn, yes.
I mean, that team was really good. And Herb Street was on. He had his own talk show in town. This was before Herb Street. He still did the game day stuff, but that's all he did. And he had an everyday radio show in town. It was called Herbie and Fitz. And Herbie, they talked the whole time about football. The day before the Final Four game, because spring practice and that was like, recruiting and all that. And it was like, that's when I was like, what the freak? Because we was in Cincinnati and we were in the Final Four. That's all they would talk about.
Yes.
It's just, these football schools, that's all they care about. So, all right. Well, I got to get to bed. I got surgery in the morning on my mouth. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to cut this out. I feel bad. I had all these comments. I can't even get to them all. That's it. We're out of here.
All
Sorry
right,
for the comments, folks.
All right, boys, girls, Higgs.
Adios.
Be good.
Good luck. Take it easy. That's it, folks. See you tomorrow, midday money.